Depreciation. It sounds scary, right? When you are calculating depreciation, specifically decreasing depreciation, you have to follow some steps to do it properly. Keep watching this video to learn that. So, what exactly is depreciation? The dictionary defines it as a reduction in the value of an asset with the passage of time. Basically, depreciation is the reduced value of an asset over a period of time. For example, motor vehicles lose 20% of their initial value as soon as it is driven for the first time. This table is a simple way of calculating depreciation over a period of time. We will be creating this table by the end of the video. So, for example, these two values are the only values that you need to change in order to get this entire table to work. So if we enter a random number in here, for example, with 56%, it changes to this value. If we change that to 12%, it changes to this value. As you can see, every time you enter a new value, the table changes accordingly. So before we get to this step, however, we must first learn how to calculate depreciation. If you would like to skip this portion of the video, skip ahead. Let us first set up the amortization table, which is what this table is called. The amortization table is what we use, The amortization table is this table. We call it an amortization table because it accumulates the amortization, or the expenses, of how much the asset is reduced by. So in order to get this, as you can see over here, you multiply the net book value by the rate to get the expense, or the amortization. The accumulated amortization is basically calculating how much the asset has depreciated over time. So after 1 year, it depreciated after 1 year it depreciated this much. After 2, it depreciated this much. But this value shows how much it depreciated that year. So in year 13, it reduced this much. Okay, let's get on with it. So, assuming that the depreciation of the product occurs yearly, we will start with the column for year. So, make a column for the year. Next, make a column for the net book value. This is the value of the product when you initially purchase it. So, or you can call it NBI or NBV. Okay, next create a column for depreciation rate. In order to find out how much the asset was depreciated by, you will need to multiply the NBI by the rate. So you can either call this a rate or a depreciation rate, it's your choice. And like I said before, the expense is also known as the amortization rate, and this is calculated by multiplying the NBI by the rate. So next, make a column for the accumulated amortization. In order to understand exactly how much the asset was depreciated by, we calculate this through the accumulated amortization. We will be calculating the expenses in its row, and all of that came before in the accumulated amortization. I'll explain that after. Finally, with the difference from the expense and the initial NBI, we will find out the new NBI, or the new net book value. We will be using this as our new NBI for each of the next rates. So I just like to center these off. Sorry, wrong button. Center these off and bold these values. So now that it's bolded, it's gotten a bit there. Okay, so you can go ahead and delete the rest of the rows like I'm doing now. So keep about 20. So yeah, keep about 20 columns and delete the rest. Now you can go ahead and make your borders as I am doing now. Okay, so now assuming that the depreciation is yearly, you can go ahead and add in all the years. Now just a little tip, if you don't want to go ahead and type out all of the years, you can highlight them and click this little box here and drag it down. It'll fill it out naturally for you. And again, I like to center these just to make it aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so let's start by entering a random NBI rate. Let's make it 70,000. Okay, and the NB, okay, so make that a dollar value, so you can click there. And let's make the amortization rate 5%, okay? Oh, sorry, yeah, that's 5%. And like I said before, to find out the expense, you multiply the NBI by the rate. So we've done sums before, and all you have to do for multiplication is you place the plus sign with the multiplication sign or the asterisk. So you click equals, and you can just select them. Okay. For the first accumulated or amortization, since there's nothing before it, it's just the first one. And the new NBI, like I mentioned before, is the first NBI subtracted by the expense. Okay? Don't do it by the accumulated amortization, even though in this row they are the same. Afterwards they will not be, and you will get into a bigger trouble. So just go ahead and do this for the rest of the rows, but remember the new NBI or the NBI for this cell is this. So just make sure it's not bolded. Oh, and same for this, because the rate is the same throughout, you can just drag it down. Oh, sorry, I meant... Okay, so you can just do that for the rest of them. I'm not going to, just to save time, but so you basically get the idea. Now, back to this table. How do you get it so that these values are the only ones you have to change? Sorry about that. Okay, so how do you make it so that these values are the only ones you have to change and the entire table gets filled out? Okay, so let's work on that. So let's create, we need 2 more columns and insert them right to them so that your chart doesn't get messed up. Okay, so over here I put them as net book value and amortization rate. You can go ahead and do that. Okay, and then just give this a box. Okay, and you can, okay, so let's get rid of all of this for now, okay? Just don't get rid of the year because it's just a given that the year is always starting from 1. But if you would like to have a year thing, you can add that in later with the same theory as what we're using now. Okay, so the net book value, you're going to get this from this area, okay? So right now it's 0, but as soon as we add a value, it'll come over here as well, okay? Okay, so let's leave it at that for now, but over here, let's add the $sign, okay? Amortization, and we have to center this as well. Amortization rate, I don't know, 12%, right? And make that a percentage. Okay, I'm not sure why that's doing that. And you can make the percent this, okay? Now this is important. Don't make it so that you have to use this for all of them. You can just make it for the first one and drag all the way down and it'll copy. Also, okay, and so just drag it all the way down. Okay, let's try this. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. Let me see. Okay, if you want, you can make it the same because it's not working for me right now, so I'm just going to do that. So the important thing is that all of this equals this, right? So when you change the number here, they all change as well. When we change the number here, the value, sorry, this changes as well. Okay, so the expense rate is basically this multiplied by this, right? Okay, I'm not sure if this is going to work because it didn't work for the rate, but let's just try. There we go. Okay, it worked. Accumulated amortization is just, okay, this one you're going to have to do manually. For this step, you're not going to be able to drag it down, but that's basically what you do, right? So you so right now they should all be the same value because you don't have anything in the expense rate, but soon they won't be. So as you can see, I'm taking the value of the current one and everything that came before because it's accumulated. That's what has been, that's basically the sum of everything that's gone before, right? So that's why I'm clicking equals sum, and then, yeah. So the reason that we can't drag for this is because you have to have new cells every single time. For the previous ones, it was the same cells every single time, right? Like, okay, so Excel or Google Spreadsheet is very smart. So you know that's B11 to C11, right? But every time, oh, okay, yeah, see? You know that it's B to C, but it changes the values here every time so that it matches. Okay, so now that we have that, we can add our new NBI. Now remember, we haven't added anything for these cells yet, so we're not quite done. So the new NBI is this rate subtracted from this rate, right? So I wonder if we can just drag that down and it'll happen. Yeah, so it does. And our new NBI, so we're going to have to fill out, when I say new NBI, I mean these cells. We're going to have to fill these out manually, but that's fine. So that's just this. That's because I had another equal sign. Okay, so that's the end of the table. So you've completed that. Good job. Now, let's test it out. If we change this number, it changes. And if we change this number to, let's say, 10%, it changes as well. Now, if you followed all the steps correctly, you should have the same results that I do. Okay, thanks for watching.